ban puberty blockers in minors. And the reason we made that change is we found that, number one, puberty blockers almost 100% go ahead to make sex change, irreversible changes relating to sex hormones and sex change surgeries.
I'm deeply disturbed by the argument and this notion that puberty blockers are a pathway directly to sex changes, because we know for a fact that sex changes are not legal in the state of Georgia for minors.
Heated debate over a new amendment banning puberty blockers for minors seeking gender transition. Good evening and welcome to Lawmakers. I'm Donna Lowry. Sarah Callis will have more on the legislation dealing with puberty blockers coming up. Did you know it is still legal in Georgia for some companies to pay people with disabilities as little as 22 cents an hour? And the legislation to change that has garnered overwhelming support. Plus, there's movement under the Gold Dome in the area of tort reform. They are laws that govern personal injury cases. The governor's floor leader talks about it, and a few budget items dealing with education, including making it possible for more children to have access to pre-K. Also, several bills are looking to help you with your home, from homestead exemption taxes to preventing real estate fraud. A lawmaker joins us in the studio to talk about those issues, and another lawmaker will explain legislation that would allow the person accused to hear evidence about them as it is presented to a grand jury. But first, let's get the latest from the Capitol from our Sarah Callis.
Hi, Donna. Lawmakers took up a range of issues today and reacted to a controversial amendment to a bill. A couple of special appearances in the Senate this morning. Longtime Democratic House member and former Speaker Larry Walker, and the Georgia State Amateur Golf Trophy. Walker was here as a guest of his son, Senator Larry Walker III.
It's been a while since I've been to the Capitol. What a beautiful place it is. A lot of improvements been made. And I'm glad to be here, and I've seen so many old friends, and I just thought I'd come up here and see a fellow that's been trying to imitate me or do something. Larry Walker, he calls himself. Where is he? There he is back there. Well, this is the real Larry Walker right here.
The trophy, which was first won by Bobby Jones in 1916 at the tender age of 14, was there to promote Golf Day at the Capitol.
Golf actually has a $5.3 billion total economic impact, supporting 55,000 jobs, 259 million state and local taxes, and $2.7 billion in labor income for our state of Georgia.
Then it was on to the rules calendar, where 7 House bills and resolutions were passed, encompassing everything from retirement fund management, creating the state's high-demand job list, to maintaining state facilities. And HB 985. This bill will dissolve the Georgia Higher Education Assistance Corporation from the state ledger.
The corporation was created in statute to support servicing of federal student loan programs that have now been terminated, eliminating the need for the existence of the corporation.
And the DMV got some love today with HB 1100, which will allow the Department of Revenue to make many of its notifications to motor vehicle owners through electronic notification, potentially saving the state millions of dollars. As well as HB 1303, which creates 5 new license plates commemorating the Shepherd Center, the Gadsden flag, the Okefenokee Swamp, Sanford University alumni, and the Delta Sigma Theta sorority. Senator Ben Watson also spoke to lawmakers today about an amendment passed Monday in his committee to House Bill 1170. The unrelated amendment would ban puberty blockers for transgender minors.
Puberty blockers almost 100% go ahead to make sex change, irreversible changes relating to sex hormones and sex change surgeries. So we have found that if they don't get puberty blockers, that about half choose not to. So we need to let those frontal lobes of a young person's brain mature, and they need to continue to get services from that standpoint. Mental health services, support services, and the support that they need so they can help make a decision when they are adults.
Critics of the amendment say they were blindsided by the addition.
Last year, we made it a law in the state of Georgia that no minor can receive a sex change, nor can they take cross-sex hormones. That is law. So any notion that a child who is put on puberty blockers will then in turn turn around and get a sex change, well, that's just not happening because it's not possible in the state of Georgia. We've already made that law. So I'm deeply disturbed by the argument and this notion that puberty blockers are a pathway directly to sex changes.
The House also took up a laundry list of bills. SB 430 would keep COVID-19 liability laws in place for Georgia businesses, but would remove the need for a sign. The bill passed 146 to 27. Another bill aims to allow interstate foster child placement in some situations.
We talk about how long it takes. This is one of the barriers to adoption. I hope that you vote yes for this bill, but I also wanted to tell you about one of the ICPC applications that I did. It was 2 children in custody in Georgia, and they found grandmother in Hawaii. I did the application. I lobbied to take the children myself. I was denied. But to watch those kids go from foster care to a beach in Hawaii was one of the highlights of my career.
SB 483 passed unanimously. And a longtime member, Representative Roger Bruce, announced his retirement today. He's represented Atlanta for over 2 decades.
We've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go.
Later in the day, the 4th annual HBCU Heritage Day at the state capitol. Governor Brian Kemp spoke about the importance of Georgia's 9 historically black colleges and universities, not only for the state, but also the nation.
Today, our HBCUs are the campus of choice for so many across our state, but also across our country because of their rich legacy, culture, but also pathways to success. We are proud Georgia has played such a large role in that legacy, with graduates of our HBCUs going on to become leaders not only in politics, but business, the arts, STEM, religion, and every walk of American life.
Also today, Democratic Senators Elena Parent and Sally Harrell held a press conference to advocate for Donna's Law. Donna's Law, named after a woman who died of suicide, aims to prevent suicide by allowing people to place themselves on a voluntary no-buy list for firearms.
The goal of Donna's Law is prevention. It is a lifeline to those who are vulnerable to self-harm, and it gives those individuals the freedom to choose to help themselves so that they can live.
Lawmakers return to the Capitol tomorrow for Day 35, where they will honor the late Speaker David Ralston on his birthday. That's all for my Capitol Report. Donna, back to you.
Thank you, Sarah, for that report. It's crunch time at the Capitol and push time for hearings to get legislation to one of the chambers. I spoke to a couple of lawmakers this morning who presented bills this afternoon. Republican Representative Sharon Cooper of Marietta is chair of the Public Health Committee and has a bill to help disabled Georgians who are getting paid pennies an hour for their work. But first, she gives an update on a bill she passed 7 years ago that established a nonprofit pharmacy.
It's about our pharmacy that claims medicines that are going to be destroyed, good medicines, and then we distribute them by mail across Georgia to people who are in need and can't afford their medicines. They have now, after 7 years, filled 800,000 prescriptions to the tune of medicines that would have cost $64 million, and they have given them to patients in need across Georgia for about $6 for a 90-day supply. I am so proud of them. We're expanding, and because they're expanding, and if people want to know about them, if they really need help, it's an honor system, about 5 minutes of an intake, then they would go to goodpill.org. And they're really doing 2 good things. They're putting medicines that are perfectly good, that would have been destroyed, to use, and they're helping Georgians who cannot afford their prescriptions.
How long have you been working on this?
Well, I wrote the bill 7 years ago, and they've gradually they've had to move twice for space here because it's all mail order. They don't do any in-service. We mail out all over the state. I think they have touched all but 3 counties where people have contacted them and we fill prescriptions for them. And they just keep growing and growing. It's a nonprofit, and I'm very proud of them. And yeah, I'm pleased because I did the bill. So.
Well, you should be. You work very hard and you're changing lives. You have a bill that would change lives for people with disabilities too that is moving through. Tell us about it.
Well, I was appalled to learn that there was a bill that was supported by a federal law done in 1938 that was supposed to let people pay sub-minimum wages to people with disabilities while they came, and these groups taught them how to do jobs and then sent them out into the community. Instead, a lot of these people kept them in-house, what was almost like sweatshops, and paid as low as 22 cents an hour. Now, there used to be about 80 or 90 of these across Georgia. We're down to a handful, but they're the holdouts, and so we need to phase them out, and there is federal money that will help these people that are running these kinds of programs phase it out, and to get disabled people back into our general community.
You have a bill called the 911 Amnesty Bill.
Right, that was passed 10 years ago. It allows that if you're out doing drugs in a group of people, or you find somebody that's doing drugs, even if you're doing drugs yourself or out underage alcohol drinking, you will call 911 and stay with that person until help arrives. We will not charge you even though you were doing drugs yourself. Now, that does not count for drug dealers. They get the full ride, but if you're just a college student doing drugs with a group of friends, and I would say to anybody listening to this, please talk to your students about this. Start in high school, start in junior high. Drugs are becoming such a problem. Half of them have fentanyl in them, and it's so deadly. But we do want to keep them alive, and by having this 911 amnesty bill, it's a way we do it. It's working. One group that sends out Narcan all over our state has had responses from people they've sent it to, and they are now going toward 11,000 people that have responded and said, the Narcan you sent me saved a life. My son, or this or that, or one of his friends, and knowing about this law.
I want to thank Chair Cooper for that interview. She also has a bill to allow the sale of Narcan in vending machines. There's also an update on her bill to help disabled workers, HB 1125. It did pass this afternoon in the Senate Insurance and Labor Committee. Republican Representative Will Wade of Dawsonville also presented before the Senate Committee on Insurance and Labor this afternoon. He's one of the governor's floor leaders, and I talked to him this morning about his bill to collect data from some insurers to help with tort reform.
I'm excited that I'm able to work on something I'm passionate about. Since the COVID inflation and with Georgia having some questions and as it relates to tort and litigation, we really want to tackle what's best interest for hardworking Georgians related to how do we figure out exactly what component of the price increases that Georgians are experiencing are related to tort issues. So today I'm presenting at 2 o'clock in the Senate committee House Bill 1114 that passed almost unanimously on the House side, to where we're going to empower the insurance commissioner to study and bifurcate those cost components that are driving up insurance premiums and give us great ideas, not just qualitative information, but quantitative information, so that we can make really good policy decisions to tackle the many components of different types of tort, whether that be premises liability, direct action, medical malpractice, slip and fall. All of those things are components that we need to address, and they've got to be addressed in different manners. So we've got to have data to back that up so that we balance what the trial attorneys want to do to protect those true hard case situations, but also to ensure that customers that are buying insurance can have coverage. I've got a client back home that is a commercial truck driver. They have trucks. They also have business in Indiana. It costs $4,000 per year per truck in Georgia. It's $900 per truck in Indiana. That, in my opinion, has been driven based on the litigiousness that's going on currently in our state. So we want to address it. Governor Kemp's, it's a priority for him, and I'm looking forward to getting that passed in the Senate very soon.
Yeah, for people who don't understand, these are those big monetary awards that are given out, and then people say, oh, so-and-so got a lot of money, but in the end, it comes back on the consumer.
That is correct. Anytime that happens, it becomes a measured risk by actuarial firms to determine how do they price this. And so if there's a huge sum, that ends up getting priced into the market for everybody. And we've got to figure out a way to put a damper on that situation so that Georgians can have something that's going to be more affordable for their families and for their small businesses.
Yeah, but the other side of it is that when people are hurt or injured, they should be able to be compensated.
That is correct. The intent is to ensure that we're separating those true situations versus the frivolous lawsuits on smaller situations, or quite frankly, when people are doing things in their car they shouldn't do, like texting and driving and creating incidents, and all of a sudden insurance companies are forced to settle. That settlement drives up costs for everybody. So we've got to find solutions to turn the tide on this increasing burden on our communities.
So far, let's switch gears a little bit. So far, the House has passed the fiscal 2025 budget, and there's some things in there that the governor wanted. Talk about that.
Certainly, and I appreciate Governor Kemp and his focus on education. That's something that's near and dear to me as a former school board member in my community, and that is teacher pay raises. With this budget, we're adding an additional $2,500. It will take us up to $9,500 in teacher raises. Our educators are valued in this state, and we're going to make sure that they have the starting salary that's going to be the highest in the southeastern United States. I am just very thrilled that Governor Kemp has led on this issue. Speaker Burns, the House Education Committee, the Budget Committee, Chairman Dubnik on House Education Appropriations has been supportive, and so we're doing lots of great things. The House is also leading, if you don't mind me saying, and the governor is very supportive of, is the focus on pre-K. Early learning is key to success in life, and we want to make sure that the pre-K teachers and their assistants, those classroom aides, are paid a comparable salary to a kindergarten teacher and a public school parapro. We're going to be able to do that within the confines of the HOPE funds that are currently in statute. We've got a good surplus there. We think that's going to send a message to make sure that we can fill in the gap for the waiting list for pre-Ks across the state. And we're going to put some capital outlay to encourage school systems so that we can continue to have those private providers that are working with DECAL, as well as our public schools that want and have waiting lists for pre-K space. So we're going to put our money where the need is to change lives in Georgia.
Looking to do is to reduce class sizes, but increase the number of classes.
Yes, so both. It's going to not just increase the number of available class spaces, we're going to also get to a smaller per class enrollment. So go from 22 students down to 20, which was what it was before the Great Recession.
My thanks to Representative Will Wade for that interview. His legislation, HB 1114, the Data Analysis for Tort Reform Act, it passed along this afternoon also in the Senate Insurance and Labor Committee. Well, coming up, more bills that will affect your everyday life. Two members of the House join us in the studio to talk about their legislation. So stay with us.
Lawmakers is made possible by Georgia Farm Bureau. With over 80 years of helping everyone understand the importance of agriculture in our state. After all, ag is Georgia's #1 industry. Food and fiber production represents over $74 billion in output of Georgia's strong economy. The Georgia Farm Bureau legislative team works to represent producers across Georgia at the state capitol during the session and year-round. Georgia Farm Bureau, the voice of Georgia farmers.
People put their faith in PBS because they know that it is constantly delivering quality. It covers the whole of the United States. It's a free and independent media.
We go where the viewers are.
What are the conversations that are happening right now?
We feel that civil discourse is a civic responsibility.
What we do is authentic reporting that people can trust.
We give time so you can hear voices on all sides of an issue.
This is the place that people turn to for stories that matter.
And they know that when they walk away, they will have learned something about the world around them.
That's why this makes PBS important for daily life and, in the end, our world.
Thank you for joining us.
Community.
Learning, working, playing, celebrating, doing life is always better together. At GPB, we aim to provide you with the tools to be able to do life together well. Our mission to educate, inform, and entertain inspires everything from our wide range of programming to our stimulating radio conversations to our fun in-person events. We've got something for everyone. Visit gpb.org/community to learn more about our upcoming events.
Welcome back to Lawmakers. I'm Donna Lowry. We're going to dig right into a variety of issues with our guests, so let's get to it. Democratic Representative Patty Marie Stinson of Butler is joining us. She's the vice chair of the House Committee on Planning and State Affairs. Also, Republican Representative Matt Reeves of Duluth. He's vice chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. Welcome to Lawmakers to both of you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Donna.
Representative Reeves, we're going to begin with you. You have a couple of bills that focus on the homestead exemption tax. Tell us about them.
Absolutely. Home ownership's the American dream here in Georgia. We've got a proud history of home ownership. I'm from Gwinnett County. We've got about 125,000 owner-occupied homes, and as I was out in Swanee and Duluth and Sugar Hill running for the House, folks said they wanted some tax relief. So I got started last year working with our local schools, working with Republicans and Democrats from Gwinnett. There are 21 of us. And we put together some local legislation last year. Majority Leader Chuck Epstration and the other 20 representatives and I got this enacted last year. There is a ballot question, 2 of them in Gwinnett this year. The first would double the homestead exemption in Gwinnett, the first time it's been increased since 1980s. The second gives some additional money to nurses, folks who work at the hospital, law enforcement, school employees, and active duty military personnel, those middle income homeowners and working people who are really feeling the heat with the home ownership cost increases that we have. We want to keep the American dream alive and well in the second biggest county in Georgia, and the county with the most kids in school. We've got about 200,000 kids in school, so we want to make sure there's an abundance of families and teachers and law enforcement for years to come in Gwinnett County.
And then don't you have a bill statewide, too, to do something similar?
Absolutely. I thank Speaker Burns for asking me to work on this. It's in the Senate right now. House Bill 1019 will increase the statewide homestead exemption, which is the minimum. It's the floor. For the first time since 1978. So
wow.
Nearly 50 years since that's been increased, and we got over 1 million homeowners in Georgia, and this will raise the bar in tax relief for homeowners in Georgia statewide.
Oh, people like to hear tax relief. They like to hear those words.
That's right.
All right, Representative Stinson, you have a House Bill 1417 that would allow the accused person to be in the grand jury room when the evidence is presented in their case. So talk about this. Begin with how you became involved in this. What interested you?
Well, what interested me is last spring, right immediately after session, I had the opportunity to be in a courtroom in my district, and there were just several things that I observed that was very concerning to me. And so I started to do some research and ask questions, and my questions and the answers that I received led me to introduce this bill, House Bill 1417, which mainly just states before the grand jury can move on indicting a case or not to indict a case, that they will hear from the defense. Because currently in Georgia, grand juries are only hearing from the prosecution. They are indicting cases solely off the information that they are receiving from the prosecution. And I just believe House Bill 1417 is a method of fairness. It would give every person who's been charged an opportunity to present their case before the grand jury. So the grand jury have a chance to hear from both sides, so they can make a very informed, well-educated decision on whether to true bill this case or no bill. And it has nothing to do with any district attorney or anyone in particular. It's just a method of fairness for me, for all of Georgia. The grand jury needs to hear from both sides before they make a very important decision on someone's future, someone's life, their family's future, and I just the purpose of House Bill 1417.
Okay, well, I'm glad you told us about it, and we'll keep up with where it goes on that.
Sure.
I want to get to so much with you guys, so I'm switching back to you. You have a bill that you co-sponsor, a bipartisan bill called the Real Estate Fraud Prevention Bill, and it is when someone can illegally obtain a deed. So talk a little bit about what that's all about.
That's right, Don. It's House Bill 1292. Representative Gabe Okoye from Gwinnett County was working on this. He fights for senior citizens, and Majority Leader Chuck F. Stration, Caucus Chair Bruce Williamson asked me to work with him on the legal provisions in that. We got with the Superior Court clerks. They're the ones who receive the deeds. What we found out is a lot of these fraudulent deeds were coming in the mail. So what we've said is lawyers, bankers, realtors, people with a license, they can continue to file deeds either in the mail or at the counter, but these folks who were doing these fraudulent deeds, they've got an e-file where they have to give a bunch of information to the clerks. That will give a paper trail for law enforcement to investigate and apprehend these fraudsters who are preying on our senior citizens. I think it's something that's going to really help get real estate fraud out of Georgia.
Yeah, we've had some big news stories done about that, so I'm glad to hear that. I'm going to turn back to you. You had a bill that went through that dealt with licenses, license plates, I should say.
That's right, a special license plate for the Shepherd Center, House Bill 1303, and several other amendments were added to that. But I was really proud to be able to author that legislation and take it through the process for the Shepherd Center to commemorate their 50th anniversary. They do great work here in the state of Georgia and across. We have families from across the country coming to Atlanta, Georgia to take advantage of the services that the Shepherd Center provides for spinal cord injury patients and brain injury patients. So I'm just really excited and encourage everyone to purchase a Shepherd Center license plate once it's all complete.
Well, they're definitely known worldwide.
Yes,
they really
worldwide.
Are. Yeah. So Representative Reeves, you are among about a 24 senators who support the bill that deals with swatting. And this is when somebody makes a prank call and has law enforcement show up at their home.
That's right. Senator Clint Dixon, unfortunately, was a victim of swatting. He got to work on this. He and I represent Swanee, and he asked me to work on it in the House. So we passed that this week, so it's passed both houses. We also added on a measure against drive-by shooters who are often gang members or drug dealers. Georgia's cracking down on swatting and gang drive-by shootings. So it's going to make neighborhoods safer from these two things. Also, houses of worship, churches, you know, the Capitol, in addition to all homeowners have protection under that swatting law to get that terrible crime where it's a false alarm. It's putting law enforcement in danger in addition to homeowners, and we need to stop that in Georgia.
Yeah, we had several senators, the lieutenant governor, all with that. Okay, thank you for that. So as we wrap up, I want to talk to you about something that happened to you this summer, and that is you got married.
I got married.
And we're going to show a little video of that happened this summer at the Capitol.
At the Capitol.
So tell us why you chose that location.
I have been a member of the House of Representatives for 12 years, and the Capitol is a very special place for me, and so many of my constituents have not had a chance to visit the Capitol, and so I decided to host, my husband and I decided to host a wedding there, and that gave constituents from back home an opportunity to come be a part of the wedding and to see their state capitol. So I was just so excited that so many people were able to be present.
Yeah, I took that video, but the thing I loved is that the people who were driving in from your district who came around and looked at everything, and you had the ceremony right there at the MLK statue.
That's right there in front of the Dr. King statue. That was so special.
At the People's House.
At the People's House, that's right, yes.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for sharing that with us. Thanks for coming on the show to both of you, and the days are counting down.
That's right.
Yeah, so what are you looking forward to in these final days?
Second Chance Workforce Act. I think that'll help keep driver's license in people's hands. If they don't have a DUI, if they don't have a child support issue, if it's a low-level misdemeanor, making sure they don't get their driver's license pulled to where they lose it and it disrupts work. And also extending the Safer Hospitals Act in that same bill, House Bill 926. The Georgia nurses love the Safer Hospitals Act that I sponsored last year. And the children's hospitals, Eggleston, Children's Health Care, they want to get some protection under the Safer Hospitals Act. That's included in House Bill 926 for the sake of our healthcare workforce.
It passed last year, but you've added more to it.
That's right. That's right.
And that'll do what?
It will make sure that large campus that Children's Health Care is building on 85, as well as Eggleston on 285, that those healthcare workers have the same protections that hospitals that serve adults do.
Yeah, it's been pretty scary. You know, we've had some incidents where it's been scary.
You know, teachers are protected, law enforcement, MARTA bus drivers, but those doctors and nurses who are caring for people at the hospital, they should not have to worry about their safety. And Safer Hospitals Act is keeping them safe.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Thank you for your legislation and being here. But that does it tonight for Lawmakers. Tomorrow on the show, my sit-down interview with Georgia Agriculture Commissioner Tyler Harper. He talks about everything from fortifying the state food supply chain to hemp farming and more. And he'll talk about AI, too. Until then, good night.